Joining us now, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He serves on both the Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committees. Good morning, Senator. Always good to talk to you. We have plenty of ground to cover with you, but let's start with the Epstein matter. And first, get your thought about the potential appropriateness. You sit on the Judiciary Committee. The potential appropriateness of the Deputy Attorney General going to visit Ghislaine Maxwell in prison.
Look, there needs to be transparency and accountability here for the handling of the Epstein files under President Trump. If a senior representative from the Department of Justice goes to conduct an interview, it's got to be done in a transparent way. I think having her testify in front of Congress would make good sense. I think releasing transcripts makes good sense. I think releasing the client documents that President Trump promised and that Attorney General Bondi said she was reviewing makes sense. Frankly, this is yet another promise made, promise not kept by President Trump. He promised to bring prices down. He hasn't. He promised to end the war in Ukraine on day one. He hasn't. He promised to release the Epstein files. He hasn't. I think we need transparency.
So on that note, Senator, first of all, as we just mentioned, the Speaker is sending the House home so they don't have to deal with the Epstein.
That's a stunning development for him to literally send the entire House of Representatives home for their month-long vacation early just to avoid a floor vote on releasing the Epstein files.
The upper chamber, though, still in business. But on this, in terms of this, your call for transparency, other Democrats done the same. Obviously, there was just a Democratic president, President Biden, for 4 years. It was his Department of Justice. Should Democrats have released this material when they were in power?
Look, it was President Trump and a lot of folks in his circle who made this a central issue of the campaign, his intention to promptly release the files. I think this should have been made public long ago, but it was literally President Trump who made it a centerpiece of his campaign that he's now dodging and changing and throwing out chaff and accusing everybody else of having done anything else. Suggests there's a there. I'm not generally someone who favors conspiracy theories or indulges in them, but this is pretty striking, the extent to which they're avoiding releasing this information.
And on that note, some have made the connection to the president's hopes to change the subject, to talk about something else, with this idea of deflection, where yesterday he suddenly brought back a lot of the 2016 Russia conspiracies, which some sort of laughed off. But there was a serious suggestion at the heart of it, where he said that former President Obama committed treason. One of the more serious crimes we have here. And the President Trump said, whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people.
That is a chilling quote from a sitting president. And look, President Trump throws out so much stuff. My favorite name for him privately is Donnie Distraction, because he's always doing this. Look over here, look over here, look over here. This isn't just a distraction. That is a grave accusation against a former president, which prompted former President Obama to speak out. And to be clear, a Senate Intelligence Committee report approved by then Senator Marco Rubio concluded the same, that there was Russian interference in our 2016 election. The distinction DNI Tulsi Gabbard is making is, did the Russians actually get into electoral machinery and change the vote? There isn't evidence that they did. Did they engage in a sustained campaign to influence the American public and to influence the outcome of the election in 2016? There is significant evidence that they did, and a report of the Senate Intelligence Committee confirmed that.
Senator Coons, this is Susan Page. Clearly, the issue of Jeffrey Epstein is problematic for Republicans and for President Trump. I wonder if you also see some risks for Democrats in focusing on the issue of Jeffrey Epstein instead of talking, for instance, about Medicaid cuts or the effect of the big, beautiful bill that was just signed into law.
Look, I do think that one of the most unifying issues we've had in 6 months is President Trump and the Republicans in Congress pushing through on a straight party line vote massive cuts, both to hunger programs that support millions of hungry children and seniors, and to Medicaid, which provides health care that'll likely throw 17 million folks off of health care. Both their ending of the tax breaks that make the Affordable Care Act affordable and their cuts to Medicaid that will close rural hospitals and senior nursing facilities. You're right that that is a strong message. As we've learned in the last couple of weeks, most Americans don't know the details of the so-called big, beautiful bill and the ways in which it was an ugly, frankly, tragedy for lots of communities around the country. There's already one senator who's introducing a bill to repeal parts of the bill he just voted for, Senator Hawley of Missouri. I think it's important that we focus on that issue, and you're right to bring it up. One of our challenges as a Democratic caucus is that when Republicans flee Washington and take the House out of session to avoid an issue, that becomes the issue of the day. It is worth commentary, but our core issue here is about fighting for the American people and fighting for the millions of children, seniors, and working families who will lose health care and lose access to vital hunger programs because of the bill Trump signed into law on July 4th.
So, Senator, you're also on the Foreign Relations Committee, and let's turn now overseas, and in particular to Gaza. Yesterday, more than 100 large human aid and rights groups called for government to take action, warning that hunger is spreading in Gaza, that a famine could be imminent. We have also seen moments where we have talked to some people on the ground there who have said that women and children lined up to get food and water on occasion have been fired upon by the Israeli military. As this humanitarian crisis deepens by the day, my question to you is really two parts. What should Prime Minister Netanyahu be doing? Yes, but also what should the United States be doing to pressure the Prime Minister to fix this?
Prime Minister Netanyahu has to allow humanitarian aid into Gaza and admit that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has failed. It's run by military contractors, not those experienced in delivering humanitarian aid. Look, how this began was a horrific attack on Israel back on October 7th that massacred innocent Israeli civilians. There are still hostages being held beneath Gaza by Hamas. If Hamas released those hostages, Israel would, I believe, allow humanitarian aid to flow the next day. But it is not right. It is not legal. It is not moral to use humanitarian aid as leverage to try and secure the release of those hostages when it leads to starvation, when it leads to widespread hunger, when it leads to civilians being killed as they simply line up for food. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation design and operation, more than 100 humanitarian foundations and organizations have said, was not designed to actually lead to the relief of hunger in Gaza. Both Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump need to act to avoid mass starvation now.